Onto the story now. Groups and families of those killed by Apartheid Security Police are calling on the National Prosecuting Authority to release its report. This is into the failures to prosecute TRC-related cases. Justice Minister Ronald Lamola appointed former Truth and Reconciliation Commission officer, Advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza, to lead the inquiry. We're joined now by the Foundation for Human Rights' Executive Director, Dr Zaid Kimmie. Dr Kimmie, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. I mean, your organization has been championing this cause for decades now. Tell me, are we any clearer to understanding the reasons why a lot of these cases have simply been left unattended to?
Thank you very much. Well, one small correction to your statement. The Advocate Ntsebeza was appointed by the NPA, not by the Minister. And to the second question, no, we don't have any clarity on why those cases weren't prosecuted. We do know for sure that they were not prosecuted and that it was likely due to political interference. But we know closer to understanding the details of how that interference happened.
As far as you understand, what exactly is contained in this report?
Well, just to be clear, the Advocate Ntsebeza was asked to review the changes that had been implemented within the NPA to fast-track TRC cases. So, from June to 2021, the NPA announced a different approach to dealing with TRC cases. And Advocate Ntsebeza's brief was to review those changes and to assess whether or not they'd been effective. His brief was, to be clear, not to investigate why these cases had not been prosecuted or what the reason was for the long delay in the non-prosecution of these cases. He may have, in his investigations and in his interviews, unearthed some information, but we understand that that would not be the main focus of his report. The focus of his report would be... Sorry, do continue?
I was saying that much of it really, obviously is an attempt by the NPA to respond to concerns, particularly from families, that a lot of these investigated, again, have been left unattended. And when they try to get to the bottom of why that is the case, they often are sent from pillar to post. But did it give answers to those families around what are the structural, perhaps even problems within the NPA that have disabled progress? Well,
we have to be fair, I think. There has been substantive progress within the NPA. We've seen that a large number of cases are being actively investigated, although we're not sure about the details of those cases at this point. But we're told that there are in excess of 100 cases that are being actively investigated. And there have been a number of successful inquests, and there are a number of matters that are before the courts as criminal trials. There are 3 of those at the moment. But that is unfortunately just a small proportion of those large number of cases. And to answer your question, we don't know at this stage what the structural obstacles are. We do know that there's been a renewed effort on the part of the NPA. And what I think the families and ourselves and the general public would like to know is how effective have those reforms been and what more could be done. What has Advocate Ntsebeza identified as weaknesses? What is he identified as further areas that could be improved? And that, I think, is what the families deserve to know. They deserve to know that even though progress has been made, that might not be sufficient. If there are failures and shortcomings, those should be identified, and the NPA should then respond to them.
You also described the release of this report, the impact that it would have, and you particularly point to the issue of accountability where that is concerned, and that, you know, it will give the public a sense of accountability. Have you already submitted this request to the NPA?
Yes, we have supported the request by about 25 families for the release of the report. These are families that represent victims who have, in most cases, died at the hands of the Apartheid police. So we believe that the report has been completed, and the families are now asking the NPA to release that report. And the question of accountability is important. The NPA, we cannot be in a position where the NPA says, trust us, we're doing our job. We should be in a position where we know exactly what they're doing, and if they're not doing all that they can, that should be pointed out, and they should account for why they're not doing all that they can. And that's an important part of accountability. Accountability is not simply accepting that good people may be in charge and that they're doing their best. That's not accountability. That's simple trust. And that's not sufficient. That's not sufficient for the families, and it's not sufficient for us.
Any response yet?
No, but I hope that some of this publicity will encourage the NPA to respond.
Dr. Zaid Kimmie, we'll leave it there for tonight. He's the Executive Director at the Foundation for Human Rights.